I'm falling, I'm falling, I'm falling, I'm falling, I'm falling. Shouldn't be trusting me, I could be making it all up, you know. Control, you don't know me. I'm a danger to myself.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whatever time it is that you are tuning in. This is Unapologetically Me, featuring me. No special guest, just me. I'm having major technical difficulties today, but I have got to get these videos out, so we are just going to roll with it today. First of all, if you are new here, welcome. Thank you so much for clicking on this video. I hope that you enjoy it and learn something about the topic. Also, if you are a current subscriber and you keep coming back to watch me, I appreciate you guys so much. We just bumped over 1,000 and I could not have done it without you guys. So thank you so much. So let's move on with this topic so that we can get to more topics. So we are on part 7 now of the Parkland shooting and Nikolas Cruz, the making of a monster, the policies, and everything that just created this situation. So we have 2 parts left. After this one, we have 1 more part left, and that will be really going into the day of, and not just what Cruz did, because we all know what Nikolas Cruz did. We all know what happened that day, but what a lot of people don't know is what other people were doing that day that even up until this moment allowed this tragedy to take place. So we will go into that. Right now, we are going to finish up basically what the school's role was in this. So when we left off, Cruz had been withdrawn from MSD and he was placed in that online diploma program instead. And this was due to mainly to his failing grades. A lot of things you may read will say it's because of disciplinary issues, but it was because he was failing and it was because he had not been showing up. Without his ESE privileges, he couldn't manage school. This was no surprise. He was developmentally disabled, remember, and without his ESE privileges, he was expected to perform as a regular student. But he wasn't a regular student. Cruz was miserable at OCLC, yet in his own way, he still wanted to try. He didn't want to be a loser. He wanted to at least graduate from high school. He finally realized that Cross Creek was his only real chance to do this. The following information was actually redacted from Cruz's educational report with a judge's permission. Now, the judge that is currently doing the penalty phase, Judge Elizabeth Scher, she allowed this information to be redacted under the, preface of it was like a student's right to privacy. But, well, when copy and pasted, it was able to be read. So I'll let you guys decide whether or not this was redacted for Nikolas's protection or their own protection. Now, I'm not the only one who finds it convenient for the school administrators. Let's just see what you guys think about this. In April, with her son's permission, Linda called the ESE specialist at Cross Creek to ask how she could get him back into school. The district bureaucrat didn't know the district's own policy and procedure, but she pretended to, and she told the Cross Creek ESE specialist that Cruz would have to go through that standard 6-week response to intervention evaluation like any other student, including a full psychological evaluation and an extensive documentation of Cruz's response to a number of attempted interventions before he could regain his ESE status and return to Cross Creek. Does this sound familiar? If you've watched my other videos, it should, because this was already done. This was done years beforehand, years ago, with Cruz's 6th grade teacher at West Glades Middle School. The one that, compiled all of that data and submitted it to Assistant Principal Antonio Lindsay, who took a month to get back to her. Basically, all of that work was for nothing because we're just gonna keep him here anyway and do nothing about it, basically. It was said that all of that needed to be redone. This was not true. And it wouldn't even make sense for it to be true. It's already been done. The information is already there. And given his history Cruz could have regained his ESE status and re-enrolled in Cross Creek with just a single meeting. But with that false requirement in mind, Cross Creek ESE specialist emailed OCLC's ESE specialist and asked if she would conduct this exhaustive evaluation. Now, OCLC is that online diploma mill. They're not going to sit through 6 weeks of, doing all this stuff. That's not what they're there for. They're basically there to hand out a diploma. So they're not going to do that. That's just not their thing. So at first, there was no response to the email at all. And about a month later, Cross Creek ESE specialist followed up, and the two specialists talked on the phone. So we got Cross Creek and OCLC talking on the phone after a month. And after that conversation, Cross Creek's ESE specialist decided that the best course of action would be to re-enroll Cruz at Marjorie Stoneman Douglas, so that this completely unnecessary, remember, 6-week process could be done there. Cross Creek's ESE specialist contacted Jessica DiCarlo, who agreed to this course of action. But when DiCarlo took this plan to assistant principals Reed and Morford, they vetoed it. They did not want Cruz back on their campus under any circumstance. When a parent or an adult student requests an evaluation, the district must respond within 30 days by the requesting consent to conduct it or providing written notice of refusal that describes the reason the district is denying the request. Neither of these things occurred. Both Cruz and his mother had asked for his ESE services to be reinstated, but the school district, through a chain of incompetence, failed to follow up. He was desperate to graduate high school, and he was now in compliance and in asking to be returned to Cross Creek, the only school that he had ever shown any progress in. But Cruz was simply asked to leave. Had he regained his ESE status, he would have been a senior at Cross Creek at this point. But because 19-year-old Nikolas Cruz was no longer labeled ESE, he was expected to pass state tests just like any other student in order to graduate from high school. And he was not able to do this. He had failed the 10th grade Florida Standards Assessment, and when he tried taking it again, the teacher noticed that he had his phone out, which wasn't allowed, and so she told him to leave. And at this point, it more than likely became very clear to Cruz that he was never going to graduate high school. In my opinion, this realization more than likely sent him into a downward spiral. That same month, Cruz commented on a YouTube video under the username Nikolas Cruz that he wanted to become a professional school shooter. This creator of the video alerted the FBI. The FBI interviewed the creator of this video, but he knew nothing beyond what he had already told them, just that Nikolas Cruz said he wanted to become a school shooter. The agent searched the FBI database but found nothing because Cruz, remember, had no criminal record, and so he closed the case. Nikolas Cruz at this point was still harassing Anea, threatening him, verbally assaulting him with racial slurs. He also began to threaten his brother and his mother. Now, I want to say his brother Zachary was a bully towards him his whole life. But at this point, Nikolas was finally starting to stand up for himself. So at one point, he actually, over a jar of Nutella, held a gun to Zachary's head and said, "Give me the Nutella," basically. After this, Zachary did not mess with Nikolas anymore. I do think it's very important to note that he was getting bullied at home. As far as being bullied at school, I mean, I'm sure people talked about him But he made it that way. And in a sense, he was a bully. But at home, it was not that way. His brother definitely bullied him. His brother's friends did as well. And his brother's younger than him. But remember, Nikolas Cruz is developmentally disabled. He is really not mentally the age that he is. So let's move on. At one point, he asked Linda, his mom, to drive to Walmart so that he could buy a video game. And when she refused, he punched her in the face so hard that she actually required dental work. Zachary recalled that when Linda refused to take Cruz to a hunting cabin, Cruz got his AR-15 and put it to his mom's head. He yelled at her and said, "I'm gonna blow your fucking brains out." Linda ran to her car and fled. Despite these incidents, Linda let Cruz buy more guns. And I know what most of you are thinking, because I thought it too. What a fucking idiot. Look, I think it's really difficult for us who have not gone through this to fathom the combination of fear, desperation, resignation, and perhaps even hope against all hope, naivete of Linda Cruz. She didn't want to believe that her son was this horrible person, and she had specialists and professionals telling her basically he wasn't bad enough for them to do anything about. And not only that, she had no support when it came to raising her son. She had no friends, she had no family, she had no community surrounding her. Henderson Behavioral Health wouldn't institutionalize him. Broward County Police wouldn't arrest him. Marjorie Stoneman Douglas wouldn't help him get back into Cross Creek so that he could graduate high school. And now Cruz was technically an adult. You know, she was reluctant to even leave her own house at this point for fear that Nikolas and Zachary would do major damage to it. Because, like I said before, you know, Zachary was no peach either. He wasn't necessarily crazy or mentally ill the way Nikolas was, but he was a troublemaker and he was frequently in trouble with the law. It was said by a bank teller who had several phone conversations with Linda Cruz during this time that Cruz had repeatedly told Linda to go unalive herself, and he would threaten to burn down the house if she didn't. When the bank teller asked her why she didn't just kick him out, Linda replied, "Because I don't know what he's going to do." She described her son as evil and said, "If something happens to me, you'll know it was Nick." At nearly 70 years old at this point, Linda's health was starting to fail from her never-ending terror of living with her son. Linda Cruz did end up passing away at the age of 68 after suffering from pneumonia in November of 2017. And this was just 3 months before the shooting. And after the way Nikolas treated her, you would think he would have been glad. He's free, right? No more school. School kicked him out, doesn't want him anymore. No more parents. No more rules. No more nagging or stopping him from doing what he wanted. But that is not what Nikolas Cruz felt. He wanted to graduate from high school. He felt he was a loser, and he was devastated, and he felt betrayed by the school. His heart broke the day that Linda Cruz, the only mother he had ever known, passed away. The only person in the world who loved him, who tried her best to understand him, accepted him unconditionally, and helped him with everything in life, was gone. Linda Cruz spent 18 years honoring her duties as the mother of an extremely troubled and mentally disturbed boy. His biological mother, undoubtedly, in my opinion, was smoking CRACK during her pregnancy with Nikolas, and this, in my opinion, was the result. Now, I don't have absolute 100% proof of this. I don't have a drug test from when she was pregnant with him, but she was jailed for purchasing it. this. I'm just going to put the word here. She was jailed for purchasing this while she was pregnant with Nikolas, and it's purely speculation on my part, to be clear, but if she's purchasing it and she's a user of it, she's more than likely was doing it while she was pregnant. And, you know, I mean, Jeff Morford, assistant principal Jeff Morford, allegedly told Hunter, that student that we talked about in my last video, to Google autism because he believed that Nikolas Cruz was showing symptoms of autism. Well, that could be possible as well, but I also think, you know, I would suggest that you Google babies born to this addicted mothers and the effects that smoking this substance during pregnancy has on the baby, not just prenatally, but forever. That's all I have to say about that. But with no one left in Nikolas Cruz's corner, he gave in to these evil, homicidal thoughts that plagued him almost his entire life. He even began to feed those thoughts, looking up Columbine and other school shootings. He looked up response times and protocols for school shootings, and he devised a plan. Cruz's digital profile had many disturbing things, and I'm not even going to bother getting into all of them because it's moot. We all know he's messed up. But one group of internet searches that I came across when I was looking at the list stood out above the rest. 5 days before the shooting, Nikolas Cruz searched for things like how to stop homicidal thoughts, therapists that specialize in people with homicidal thoughts, and where can I find a psychologist to help with homicidal thoughts. Nevertheless, just as everyone had lacked any follow-through with helping Cruz, he lacked the follow-through on those searches, and he never actually sought any help for himself. That's it for part 7. Real quick and to the point, we are going to move into part 8. Part 8 is going to be a long one, at least longer than this one was for sure, but it's going to be a longer one because we're going to go through that day. Also, part 8, we will not be calling Nikolas Cruz by his name anymore because we will be talking about the things he did specifically that got him into prison. Therefore, we will be calling him by his prison number, which is 18-1958. He will get no name recognition for the actions that he carried out on that day. So, I will see you guys then. Please like, subscribe, comment, share. There are certain parts that are more worth sharing, I believe. Certainly the next one, part 8, but also I think part 4 is one of a really important one where I really got into what the system failures were. So anyway, thank you guys again so much for watching. Thank you guys for your support, and I hope you guys have a great week, and I will see you on the next one.